Alright, well, these really are just a few suggestions of mine for DC's cinematic universe. This is kind of a reply to a video uploaded by Itzmoe N Stuff. Before I get into it, let me just set this up by saying this. I am actually friends with Itzmoe N Stuff. We went to college together. She's a cool and chill person. And I watched her suggestions, and they're actually pretty good. They're pretty decent stuff. She mentioned things like, do a Flashpoint movie, do an Under the Red Hood movie, make the Joker the villain of the first solo Batman film, more mid-credits, end credits, post-credit scenes, have Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer do the score for Justice League. Don't show Superman in any of the Justice League trailers, and all of that other stuff. Again, they're all very, very good suggestions, and I'm not trashing her suggestions at all. That's not what this video is about. This video is a reply, because she did say, in the comment section, let me know what your suggestions are. But I wanted to do them in a video because I think that my suggestions require a little more detail than a comment would allow. Even though now YouTube took away the limit. But I still want to do this anyway. So my suggestions for the DC's cinematic universe, and I'm probably going to be and you'll see that I'm going to be a little harsher on these films than, Itzmoe was, because my opinions are stronger. I'm going to just grab a writing utensil. I am going to be a little harsher because I do have some, critiques. Number one, and this is going to be kind of flippant. Kick Zack Snyder out of DC. Sorry, CD, wow. So that's my first suggestion. Kick Zack Snyder out. Zack Snyder is on the cusp of Michael Bay. The difference, though, is Zack Snyder chooses stories that have substance and very powerful themes, whereas Michael Bay, I feel like, is constantly making tank commercials or jet commercials or car commercials. Zack Snyder doesn't do that. He actually does pick stories that have some depth. The problem with him, though, is he does not have the maturity or the substance to tell those kinds of stories. His remake of Dawn of the Dead was okay at best. His adaptation of 300 was nothing special. His adaptation of Watchmen was awful. It missed the point of the graphic novel entirely. I haven't seen Sucker Punch or Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. I don't want to see them. Man of Steel was, okay, okay is not the best word. It wasn't good. There were some problems with it. No character development, a passive Superman, and the one that everyone keeps talking about, they don't address the consequences of Superman letting Zod destroy Metropolis. They don't do that. And Batman v Superman, I have seen both the theatrical cut and the Ultimate Edition. I've seen both. I think the theatrical edition is a mess. It is an absolute mess. There's no story. There's no character development. And everything about it it was a train wreck. The Ultimate Edition is better than the theatrical edition, but it's still a mess. You have the same problems. You have superfluous characters. You have a unfocused narrative. You have misrepresentations of the heroes. And you have not only no character development, you have no character development, but you also have superfluous characters. You have characters who are just there, just so you can say, oh, they're there. Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, they said his name in the Ultimate Edition, but I felt like I barely knew him. And that's because I did barely know him. I felt like, as far as Wonder Woman is concerned, they could have cut all of her scenes, and the movie would have been the same. She added nothing to Batman v Superman. I didn't feel like her scenes with Bruce Wayne did anything for their relationship. All the scenes involving the members of the Justice League, it didn't add anything because there was no callback. Those could have been cut out. We didn't need them. Jesse Eisenberg. People have gone on ad nauseum about Jesse Eisenberg, so I'm not going to mention that. But another problem the biggest problem I have with these movies is the fact that there's no care in story. Itzmoe N Stuff mentioned focusing on story, which I agree that they need to do. But the way that they need to do it is they need to actually make an effort on making the characters likable. I mean, look at Suicide Squad. That to me felt like, and Zack Snyder didn't do that movie, I know. David Ayer did, and he's to blame for that film. Suicide Squad felt to me like a darker version of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it didn't have the substance, nor did it have the focus. You know, with Suicide Squad, when the movie starts, you think the protagonist is Deadshot. You know, because the catalyst affects him. You get to the middle of the movie, the midpoint affects Flag, because the stakes are raised for him. And then you get to the third act, and suddenly it's Harley enacting the lesson of the movie? Huh? Well, Harley and Flag, if you want to make that argument, but it's uneven. It felt like The Last Airbender to me, where it was just an unfocused narrative. Except, difference is, in Suicide Squad's case, it didn't have Seychelles Gabriel. And that to me was the only saving grace in The Last Airbender, was Seychelles Gabriel. That's it. Anywho. So that's my first suggestion. My second suggestion is Kevin Tsujihara. Or Tsujihara, sorry. Kevin Tsujihara, the CEO, the current CEO of Warner Brothers. There was a great letter that was written shortly after Suicide Squad came out, from somebody who used to work for Warner Brothers, who talked about how you have all these directors making these movies that aren't delivering on their promise, yet Kevin Tsujihara decides to fire the bottom of the barrel workers. He punishes the bottom of the barrel workers for the mistakes that the directors made. Whether it was, films like Godzilla, or the Hobbit films, or even these films. It's not the bottom of the barrel workers that are making these mistakes. It's the directors that are making these mistakes. And Kevin Tsujihara is punishing people who had no effect on it. If I started screwing up at my job, as a team leader, if I started to do my job poorly, the GM would not fire the team members. The GM would fire me, and he would be well within his right at that point to do so. He would punish me, not the team members. So this mentality of, Batman v Superman didn't turn out so hot. I'm going to give Justice League to Zack Snyder, and then I'm going to fire that, this office worker who, I don't care if she has a family or not. Sorry, you gotta go. No, you need to replace Kevin Tsujihara with somebody who's not going to do that. With someone who is going to say, you screwed up on this movie, you're out. Sorry, Snyder. So that's my third suggestion. So that's my second suggestion. My third suggestion is I want to see Max Landis get involved with these movies. As some of you probably don't know, Max Landis is a screenwriter. His father is John Landis, who directed Animal House, The Blues Brothers, An American Werewolf in London, Three Amigos, Trading Places, all those films. Anyway, so Max Landis wrote Chronicle, which is one of the best superhero movies out there. He also wrote American Ultra, Victor Frankenstein, Me, Him, Her, Mr. Right. And he wrote a Superman comic, like a limited Superman comic called Superman American Alien. It's a damn good comic. It is damn good. I have, as many of you know, Max Landis, who is on YouTube as Up to My Knees. He is just, he gets Superman. When you listen to him talk about Superman, he loves the character and he understands the character. Whereas Zack Snyder, when you read his comments about Superman, he does not understand him. And there's no subtlety either. So my suggestion would be replace Zack Snyder with Max Landis. Somebody who understands these characters and will represent them as such. My fourth suggestion, and this is, this is, kind of silly, to say, but going off of Itzmoe's suggestion for Flashpoint, I want to see a movie about Thomas and Martha Wayne. I want them to make a movie about that particular part of Flashpoint, because I think that that's a compelling movie in and of itself. I think there's a lot that you can do with that particular point. Excuse me. So I want to see that storyline. I want to see that kind of movie. And of course you'd have Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Laurie Cohan as Thomas and Martha Wayne respectively. Do that, And then my fifth suggestion to them is, if you're gonna compete with Marvel understand Marvel's game. Because it's obvious that they're trying to compete with Marvel, but they're rushing to get to Justice League. We've had 3 movies in this universe so far, and already they're getting into Justice League. And so far, we've learned nothing about these characters. Whereas with Marvel, this is how they did it before they got to Avengers. You had Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Captain America, the First Avenger, Thor, and then you got the Avengers. You had 5 movies to introduce us to all of the characters that would appear in the Avengers. 5 movies. And it paid off because they actually said, we are going to talk about these characters. We're going to get them introduced to the audience. This is what they're going to be like. And by and large, it worked. You knew who Tony Stark was. You found out who Captain America was. You found out who Bruce Banner was, Thor was, so on. And that's part of what made the Avengers work. Because you had these characters that you were rooting for that you got to know over the course of a few films. When people say to me, oh, they're going to pay it off in the next movie, I always say to them that movies don't work that way. You have to introduce us to characters first before you can even go to the team films, which again is what Marvel did. DC's not doing that. They are rushing, and they're just throwing everything at us without explaining everything, without explaining a thing. So anyway, that's my suggestion to DC. If you're gonna compete with Marvel, learn their game. Alright, I think that's all I can think of at this point. Again, they're a little more overarching than really details, but hopefully those are good. So anyway, if you like it, comment on it. Itzmoe, I still respect you, and I still value your opinions greatly. You're one of the coolest people ever. I wish I could talk to you much more than I do now. Hopefully you'll watch this video and maybe we can get back into contact. That would be awesome. Anyway, catch you in the next video.